Excited to be a part of this, and the quick ticket sales is just an indication of how popular Buddy's music still is.
Yep.
So
that's my follow-up question. How relevant?
On February 3rd, 1959, the world witnessed a devastating moment in rock and roll history. A tragic plane crash in Clear Lake, Iowa, claiming the lives of 3 rising stars. This day would forever be etched in memory as the day the music died. The untimely loss of Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. the Big Bopper. Richardson marked an irreversible turning point in the music world, one that altered the course of rock and roll forever. Buddy Holly, with his unmistakable horn-rimmed glasses and electrifying stage presence, reshaped the music scene. His innovative sound, vibrant energy, and dedication to his craft left a legacy that would live on even after his meteoric rise was tragically cut short. Buddy Holly, born Charles Hardin Holley on September 7, 1936, in Lubbock, Texas, was introduced to music at an early age. Growing up in a supportive family, Buddy's natural musical talent was nurtured by his parents and siblings. His love for music became evident when, at just 5 years old, Buddy took the stage at a local talent show with nothing more than a toy violin in hand. Even though the violin was too small for him, Buddy's determination shone through as he performed. His performance, though simple, marked the beginning of a lifelong passion that would later define his legacy. As Buddy continued to grow, so did his love for music. His early influences ranged from the country and western sounds of his surroundings to the bluegrass tunes that filled the airwaves. His exposure to these genres was largely thanks to his brothers, who played a big role in introducing him to the music that would inspire him in his formative years. Through their encouragement, Buddy began to develop his skills, moving from a toy violin to a real instrument that would help him find his true musical voice. In the years following World War II, Buddy's musical journey took a pivotal turn. When Buddy's older brother, Travis, returned from the war, he brought back with him a gift that would change the course of Buddy's life forever: an acoustic guitar. The moment Buddy received this guitar, it was as if the door to his musical destiny had swung wide open. With his brother's help, Buddy quickly learned to play, and it didn't take long for him to immerse himself in the world of music. The guitar became more than just an instrument. It was an extension of Buddy himself, with the two inseparable from that moment on. Buddy's musical tastes were vast and eclectic. His early performances were influenced by a mix of country, bluegrass, and rhythm and blues. While Buddy's small-town roots anchored him to country and western music, it was the emerging sounds of rhythm and blues that captured his soul. Late at night, Buddy would sneak out with his friend Bob Montgomery to listen to R&B stations on the radio, tuning into distant broadcasts that introduced him to a new world of sound. The soulful, driving rhythms and raw energy of R&B ignited a fire within Buddy. These late-night radio sessions became a sacred ritual, fueling his creativity and expanding his musical horizons. It was through this unique blend of musical influences, country, bluegrass, and R&B, that Buddy Holly began to shape his distinctive style. His passion for music deepened with every passing year, and by the time he reached his teens, Buddy's path was set. His sound, rooted in the familiar yet infused with something new, would soon capture the attention of the world. What began as a young boy's fascination with sound and melody was about to evolve into something extraordinary. Buddy Holly's journey to fame began in 1956, marking a pivotal year in his career. At just 19 years old, Buddy signed a contract with Decca Records, stepping into the spotlight as a solo artist. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in Buddy's life, one that would soon propel him into the forefront of the music world. His early work under Decca included his first single, Blue Days, Black Nights, which quickly earned him attention, but it was clear that Buddy's true potential had yet to be fully realized. As he honed his craft, Buddy's style and sound began to evolve. The breakthrough came with the creation of That'll Be the Day. Co-written by Buddy and his close friend Bob Montgomery, the song was inspired by a line from the classic John Wayne film, The Searchers. The catchy chorus, the smooth harmonies, and Buddy's unique voice created a sound that was fresh and unforgettable. When they presented the song to Decca, however, the label wasn't initially convinced. Yet Buddy, refusing to be discouraged, continued to push forward, determined to make his mark on the music scene. The decision paid off, as That'll Be the Day became a massive hit, climbing the charts and establishing Buddy Holly and the Crickets as one of the most innovative groups of their time. Buddy's music was not just about catchy tunes, it was about breaking boundaries and redefining what rock and roll could be. He wasn't just a performer, he was a writer, a visionary, and a pioneer. As That'll Be the Day soared to #1, Buddy continued to write, record, and perform with the same passion that had first inspired him. His band, the Crickets, were more than just his backing group. They were his creative partners, helping bring Buddy's musical vision to life. Songs like Oh Boy and Peggy Sue followed, each one a testament to Buddy's growing influence as both a songwriter and a performer. By the time Buddy and his band had begun to perform live, they had already cemented their place in rock history. Buddy's performances were nothing short of electric. His energy, charisma, and raw talent were undeniable. His stage presence captivated audiences, and his music resonated with people of all ages. Songs like Peggy Sue became anthems, forever embedded in the hearts of fans. Buddy's voice, his unique sound, and his unconventional style set him apart from the polished performers of his time. He was a symbol of authenticity in a world of manufactured stars. As his popularity soared in the United States, Buddy's influence began to stretch across the Atlantic. In 1958, Buddy and the Crickets embarked on a groundbreaking tour of the United Kingdom, where their impact would be felt for years to come. British rockers like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Eric Clapton were deeply influenced by Buddy's sound and style. In fact, the Beatles were so inspired by Buddy Holly that they modeled their early music after his work. John Lennon often cited Buddy as a major influence, and the Beatles even covered several of Buddy's songs in their early years. Buddy's casual yet energetic performance style was revolutionary. He showed that rock and roll could be raw, real, and passionate, not just about image, but about the music itself. Buddy's international success was just the beginning. He was more than just an American sensation. He became a global icon whose influence extended well beyond his time. His legacy was solidified not only through his chart-topping hits, but also through his groundbreaking approach to songwriting and recording. At a time when most artists relied heavily on producers to shape their sound, Buddy Holly took creative control of his music, producing his own tracks and ensuring his artistic vision remained intact. His innovative use of studio techniques, such as double-tracking vocals, set new standards for music production and paved the way for future generations of musicians. Buddy Holly's rise to fame wasn't just about individual hits. It was about a new era in rock and roll. His sound, his style, and his approach to music changed the industry forever. Whether through his unforgettable performances on TV shows like American Bandstand and The Ed Sullivan Show, or his groundbreaking UK tour, Buddy proved that rock and roll was more than just a passing trend. It was a cultural movement. The Crickets and Buddy Holly weren't just creating music. They were shaping the future of the genre. inspiring legions of fans and fellow musicians who would follow in their footsteps. Buddy's music transcended boundaries. His influence was felt not only in the United States, but across the world, helping to shape the sound of a new generation. And even though his life and career were cut short, his impact on music would last for decades. The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, and countless other artists drew inspiration from Buddy's sound, style, and approach to music making. Buddy Holly was, and continues to be, a trailblazer in every sense of the word. His legacy lives on in the music of those who came after him, ensuring that the spirit of rock and roll continues to thrive. Behind the scenes of Buddy Holly's meteoric rise to fame, the pressures of the music industry were beginning to take their toll. Despite the success of his records, Buddy was facing mounting challenges in managing his career. His relationship with his manager, Norman Petty, grew increasingly strained. Petty, who had played a crucial role in getting Buddy's music on the map, was also notorious for his tight grip on the finances. Buddy, ever the perfectionist about his art, grew frustrated with the lack of transparency in his earnings, as well as Petty's reluctance to allow him more control over his music. Tensions began to surface as Buddy realized that his manager was taking a larger share of the profits, while his creative freedom was being stifled. The royalties were another source of contention. While Buddy was one of the biggest names in rock and roll, his financial situation didn't reflect that. Petty's management of the Crickets' finances was becoming increasingly questionable, and Buddy started to see the cracks in their professional relationship. In 1958, as he tried to break free from these constraints and regain control over his career, the personal toll began to weigh heavily on him. The frustrations he faced in the studio and on the road spilled over into his personal life, making his once carefree career path feel more like a battle. Amidst these professional struggles, a new chapter began in Buddy's personal life. In June 1958, while on a trip to New York, Buddy met Maria Elena Santiago, a young Puerto Rican receptionist working at his music publisher's office. Their connection was instant and profound. It was a whirlwind romance, and just weeks after their first date, Buddy introduced Maria Elena to his family. The couple quickly fell in love, and within 2 weeks, they were married. Despite their whirlwind romance, their love story faced significant challenges. Lubbock, Texas, the place where Buddy had grown up, was still deeply rooted in racial prejudice. As a Puerto Rican woman marrying a white Texan man, Maria Elena faced harsh judgment from some of the more conservative members of society. The couple's love, however, proved to be unwavering. Together, they braved these societal challenges, with Buddy always supportive of his wife. Their marriage, though brief, was marked by a deep and genuine love, and their time together was filled with shared dreams and creative explorations. After facing some obstacles in Lubbock, the couple decided to move to New York City, where the more liberal atmosphere offered them the freedom they had long desired. New York provided Buddy with the creative freedom to explore new musical avenues and gave him a taste of a different lifestyle. The city was a cultural melting pot, filled with artistic energy, and it inspired Buddy to venture into new genres and ideas. Buddy and Maria Elena spent their time exploring the vibrant world of Greenwich Village, immersing themselves in the artistic atmosphere that the area was known for. Buddy was drawn to the diverse musical scene, attending local poetry readings, collaborating with musicians from various backgrounds, and even considering a career shift into acting. It was during this time that Buddy began to experiment with new ideas for his music, envisioning collaborations with legendary artists like Ray Charles and Mahalia Jackson. Although the couple's time in New York was filled with excitement and promise, Buddy was still facing the financial challenges that came with his earlier agreements. His royalties were tied up with Norman Petty's management, leaving him cash-strapped despite his fame. In late October of 1958, Buddy and Maria Elena confronted Petty about the situation. The conversation was a harsh wake-up call. Buddy learned that his bandmates, Jerry Allison and Joe B. Malden, had been persuaded by Petty to remain under his management. This revelation, coupled with Petty's refusal to release Buddy's finances, pushed Buddy to his breaking point. The confrontation with Petty marked the beginning of Buddy's decision to take more control over his career, a pivotal moment that would ultimately lead to him parting ways with the manager who had helped him rise to stardom. While Buddy navigated these personal and professional struggles, his bond with Maria Elena remained a constant source of support. She stood by him through his financial troubles, offering both emotional and practical advice. Her presence was a grounding force in Buddy's life, helping him navigate the pressures of the music industry, and she became his rock as he faced the looming challenges of his career. Buddy's personal and professional journey was far from easy, but through it all, Maria Elena remained by his side, offering unwavering support. Their story, though marred by the pressures of fame and societal expectations, was one of true love and mutual respect. In the face of adversity, they found solace in each other, and their love story became one of the most poignant aspects of Buddy's life. As Buddy continued to struggle with the pressures of fame, his love for Maria Elena became a source of strength, and together they dreamed of a future where they could continue to create and live freely. Their story, like Buddy's career, was one of resilience in the face of hardship, proving that even in the darkest moments, love and passion for music could shine through. The Winter Dance Party Tour of 1959 was supposed to be an exciting and profitable venture for Buddy Holly and his band, but what began as an ambitious series of shows quickly became an exhausting and grueling ordeal. The musicians, bundled up in the unforgiving cold of a Midwest winter, were forced to travel in an old bus that was far from fit for the task. The heating system in the bus barely worked, and the long, freezing nights took their toll on everyone. With each passing mile, the cold seemed to seep deeper into their bones, and the constant travel through the snow and ice left little time for rest. It was a nightmare for the young men, and their spirits began to wane under the harsh conditions. Buddy, ever the pragmatist, grew tired of the punishing bus rides. The unrelenting cold and discomfort wore on him, and it became clear that something had to change. The atmosphere on the bus was tense, with each stop feeling like a small victory against the harsh conditions they were enduring. Even the most dedicated musicians found themselves struggling to keep up their energy and enthusiasm, and Buddy knew that something had to be done. After much contemplation, Buddy made a decision that would forever change the course of his life and the history of rock and roll. With the band's well-being in mind, he sought an alternative to the cramped, cold bus rides. Buddy knew there was a faster, more comfortable way to reach the next show. He decided to charter a small plane, believing it would offer the musicians a much-needed break from the torturous bus rides. The plane would take them directly to their next stop, sparing them from the brutal weather conditions and allowing them a bit of rest before their next performance. But Buddy's decision was not without its complications. When it came time to choose who would board the plane, a coin toss was used to make the final decision. It was a fateful moment that would forever haunt those who were left behind. Ritchie Valens and J.P. the Big Bopper. Richardson, both eager for a more comfortable ride, were the candidates for the flight. The coin toss decided it. Ritchie Valens won the seat, securing his place on the plane. As history would have it, this was the first and last time that Ritchie won a coin toss, and it would seal his fate. As the plane prepared for takeoff in the early hours of February 3, 1959, the musicians boarded, unaware that this flight would be their last. At 12:55 a.m., Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. the Big Bopper. Richardson climbed aboard the small Beechcraft Bonanza plane, with Roger Peterson at the helm. The weather conditions were far from ideal. Thick fog, snow, and strong winds created an environment that was less than forgiving for any pilot, especially one with limited experience flying in such challenging conditions. Despite the risks, the plane took off, heading toward the next stop on the tour. Moments after takeoff, the situation began to unravel. The plane quickly encountered trouble. The weather conditions worsened, and the inexperienced pilot struggled to keep control of the aircraft. The plane's instruments were difficult to read in the low visibility, and it became increasingly apparent that the flight was doomed. What happened during those final moments remains a mystery, but the chilling reality set in as the plane, unable to navigate the treacherous conditions, plummeted into the ground. The wreckage was discovered the following morning, scattered across a cornfield in rural Iowa. The impact was devastating. There were no survivors. The bodies of Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. the Big Bopper Richardson were found, each one of them gone too soon. The crash site, once a place of music and life, had become a grim reminder of the fragility of fame and the risks of life on the road. The news of the crash reverberated through the music world. Fans, musicians, and loved ones were left in shock and disbelief, unable to comprehend that three of rock and roll's brightest stars had been lost in an instant. The loss of Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper became a defining moment in rock history, one that would forever alter the trajectory of the genre. The impact of that fateful night rippled across generations, and the music world would never be the same. The crash site in Iowa has since become a somber pilgrimage for fans, marked by a memorial bearing Buddy Holly's iconic horn-rimmed glasses. Every year, music lovers gather to remember the three young men who gave their all for rock and roll. Their lives cut short, but their legacy forever etched in history. The day that the music died on February 3rd, 1959, was a reminder of how fleeting life can be, and how the pursuit of dreams can sometimes come at the highest cost. The crash that claimed the lives of Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. the Big Bopper Richardson left an indelible mark on the world, one that would reverberate through the music industry for decades. News of the tragic accident spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves through the music world. Fans and fellow musicians alike were left grappling with the enormity of the loss. Three rising stars, each with a unique style, each carving their own path in rock and roll, were taken from the world too soon, and the void they left behind was immeasurable. In the wake of the crash, the public's grief was palpable. Across the country, tribute concerts were held and memorials were erected, with fans honoring the memory of these three men who had brought so much joy and inspiration through their music. The impact of their loss extended far beyond the realm of rock and roll. It was felt by every person whose life had been touched by their music. Radio stations played their songs in heavy rotation, and the legacy of Buddy, Ritchie, and the Big Bopper began to grow in the wake of their untimely deaths. Songs like That'll Be the Day, Peggy Sue, and La Bamba became anthems of a lost generation, forever marking the cultural significance of the artists who had written them. In the midst of this outpouring of grief, the music industry was left to process what had happened. Fellow musicians, many of whom had known and worked with Buddy, Ritchie, and the Big Bopper, struggled to come to terms with the loss. Their absence created a void in the music scene that seemed impossible to fill. Artists like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Bob Dylan, who were just beginning to rise to prominence, would later acknowledge the profound influence Buddy Holly and his contemporaries had on their own work. They were part of a generation of musicians who grew up listening to Buddy's music, who admired his innovative approach to songwriting, and who were inspired by the authenticity and raw energy he brought to the stage. But for those closest to the three men, the pain ran much deeper. Waylon Jennings, who had been part of Buddy's band and had traveled alongside him during the Winter Dance Party tour, was left to wrestle with a burden that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Jennings had given up his seat on the fateful plane to J.P. Richardson, who was suffering from the flu. The guilt of that decision weighed heavily on Waylon, as he found himself questioning if he could have done anything to change the outcome. In interviews and throughout his career, Jennings spoke of the survivor's guilt he carried with him, a burden that was never fully lifted. His connection to Buddy, Richie, and the Big Bopper was more than just professional. It was personal, and their loss left an unfillable void in his heart. Buddy's widow, Maria Elena Holley, was also forever altered by the tragedy. Maria Elena had been married to Buddy for only a short time, and in the blink of an eye, her life was turned upside down. Not only did she lose her husband in the crash, but she also suffered a miscarriage shortly after hearing the devastating news. The weight of these losses was almost too much to bear, but Maria Elena remained resilient. As the years passed, she became the steadfast guardian of Buddy's legacy, determined to ensure that his music and his story would live on. Despite the overwhelming grief, Maria Elena worked tirelessly to preserve Buddy's impact on the music world. She was dedicated to honoring his memory and ensuring that the world knew how much Buddy had contributed to the evolution of rock and roll. In the years following the crash, Maria Elena took on a new role, one that was more than just that of a widow. She became an advocate for the preservation of Buddy's intellectual property and a passionate promoter of his music. She co-founded the Buddy Holly Educational Foundation, a nonprofit organization aimed at helping young musicians and preserving Buddy's spirit of innovation. Through her tireless efforts, Maria Elena ensured that Buddy's influence would continue to be felt for generations to come. The survivors, Waylon Jennings and Maria Elena Holley, each carried the burden of that tragic night in their own way. For Waylon, it was a deep sense of guilt and a lifetime of questioning. For Maria Elena, it was the task of holding on to the love and memory of her late husband while ensuring his artistic vision was honored. Both struggled with the weight of loss, but both also found ways to channel their grief into something meaningful. The tragedy of February 3, 1959, changed the course of rock and roll history. The loss of these three brilliant artists, each at the beginning of what promised to be an extraordinary career, was a reminder of the unpredictable nature of life. Their deaths left a profound hole in the hearts of those who loved them, but their music continues to resonate to this day. What was meant to be the beginning of a promising new chapter for Buddy, Richie, and the Big Bopper instead became a dark moment in the history of rock and roll. However, their influence has never waned. The songs they wrote, the sounds they created, and the energy they brought to the stage continue to inspire artists and fans alike. Their legacy endures, ensuring that the music they made and the impact they had will never truly die. As we reflect on the lives of Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. Richardson, we are reminded that the world of music is fragile, and the artists who shape it are just as vulnerable as anyone else. The impact of that fateful day still echoes through the music we listen to today, and the memory of these three incredible artists lives on, forever etched in the fabric of rock and roll history. After the tragic death of Buddy Holly, his music and legacy could have easily been forgotten over time. But Maria Elena Holley was determined to ensure that Buddy's contributions to rock and roll would live on. As Buddy's widow, she became the steadfast guardian of his work, dedicating herself to preserving his music and intellectual property. In the years following his death, Maria Elena tirelessly worked to protect Buddy's legacy, making sure his influence was recognized for generations to come. One of her most significant achievements was the founding of the Buddy Holly Educational Foundation. This organization was created not only to honor Buddy's work, but also to support young and emerging musicians, providing them with the tools and inspiration to continue pushing the boundaries of music, just as Buddy had done in his own short but impactful career. The foundation became a cornerstone of Buddy's lasting legacy, ensuring that future generations of musicians would have access to resources and support that would allow them to follow in Buddy's innovative footsteps. Maria Elena's dedication to preserving Buddy's work was a testament to her love and respect for him. And through her efforts, his music found new life. She took it upon herself to keep his artistic vision alive, and as a result, Buddy's influence continued to resonate across the music world. Buddy Holly's impact was not limited to his own time. His music laid the foundation for the evolution of rock and roll, influencing countless artists who came after him. His unique sound and pioneering approach to songwriting left an indelible mark on the music industry. One of the most notable ways his influence manifested was in the careers of artists like Paul McCartney and Bob Dylan, both of whom openly cited Buddy as a key influence on their work. Paul McCartney, in particular, was deeply inspired by Buddy's music, and his admiration for Buddy's talent was well known. McCartney and the other members of the Beatles frequently covered Buddy's songs during their early days, and Buddy's approach to music made a lasting impression on the band's own sound. The Beatles' early albums were filled with elements that reflected Buddy's raw, energetic style. McCartney himself has said that Buddy's music opened up a world of possibilities for him as a musician, and that the songs Buddy wrote helped shape his own songwriting approach. It's no exaggeration to say that without Buddy Holly, the Beatles may not have become the global phenomenon they were, and the music world would have looked very different. Bob Dylan, another giant of the music world, also acknowledged Buddy's influence on his own career. Dylan, who was just a teenager when Buddy's music was taking the world by storm, has spoken about how Buddy's sound struck a chord with him. Dylan's early recordings reflect the same spirit of innovation and rebellion that Buddy Holly brought to rock and roll. Buddy's ability to blend genres, to merge rock and roll with rhythm and blues, was something that Dylan, with his own unique vision, admired and sought to emulate in his own work. Buddy Holly's influence spread far beyond McCartney and Dylan. As rock and roll continued to evolve, his sound and style continued to inspire new generations of musicians. His use of the electric guitar, his incorporation of diverse musical styles, and his willingness to push boundaries made him a role model for countless artists. In the years following Buddy's death, many of the biggest names in rock music would acknowledge his lasting influence. His impact was so profound that his music became an essential part of the soundtrack of rock history, and his songs were covered by some of the most significant artists of the 20th century. Buddy's legacy also extended to popular culture. His distinct image, those iconic horn-rimmed glasses, his unique stage presence, and his electrifying performances became synonymous with rock and roll. In the decades following his death, Buddy's influence was immortalized in a variety of ways. Documentaries, books, and movies about Buddy Holly's life and music continue to be made, introducing his story to new audiences. His life has been chronicled and celebrated in multiple forms of media, from the 1978 biopic, The Buddy Holly Story, to the tribute song American Pie by Don McLean, which immortalized the tragic plane crash as The Day the Music Died. Through these depictions, Buddy's story has continued to captivate and inspire people, keeping his memory alive for new generations to discover. Museums dedicated to Buddy Holly, like the Buddy Holly Center in Lubbock, Texas, have become pilgrimage sites for fans from all over the world. These exhibits showcase Buddy's life and music, celebrating his contributions to rock and roll. His records, memorabilia, and personal artifacts are displayed, offering a glimpse into the life of an artist who changed the face of music forever. The Buddy Holly Center is a testament to how his legacy has endured, and it continues to inspire visitors with its tribute to one of rock and roll's pioneers. Even today, Buddy Holly's influence is felt in the music of contemporary artists who continue to draw from his groundbreaking sound. Musicians who were born long after Buddy's death still cite him as an influence, and his music continues to be covered, sampled, and reimagined in countless ways. His approach to rock and roll, the fusion of melody, rhythm, and innovation, set the stage for generations of artists who followed in his footsteps. Buddy's enduring legacy proves that his contributions to music were far ahead of his time. His music lives on, continuing to inspire not only the musicians who were directly influenced by him, but also those who will come long after. Through the efforts of Maria Elena Holly and the countless musicians who keep his spirit alive, Buddy Holly's influence is felt in every corner of the music world. His legacy, defined by creativity, authenticity, and innovation, remains as powerful today as it was when he first stepped onto the stage. And as long as his music continues to be played, Buddy Holly will never truly be gone. Though Buddy Holly's life was tragically cut short, his music and the impact he made on rock and roll have only grown over time. His legacy continues to inspire and influence artists across generations, ensuring that his spirit lives on in every note played. Buddy's contributions to music were far ahead of their time, and his sound continues to resonate, proving that his vision never truly faded. Buddy Holly's journey reminds us of the enduring power of music. His story is a testament to how one artist can shape the course of an entire genre and leave an indelible mark on the world. His legacy lives on, forever etched in the hearts of those who believe in the power of their dreams and the transformative nature of music. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories from the world of music history. Don't forget to check out our next video by clicking the one on your screen right now.